Here we have John just literally beat the living shit out of his doll, aka human Sean here, where we have Emilico and Kate basically just drinking a shit ton of water. The difference is night and day on how they try to save their face, aka their true friend and family. This week's episode of Shadow Shows honestly reveals quite a bit that I really enjoy because you never know if you're getting a second season or not, so it's nice to have, I think anyway, episodes like these that drop even more bombshells and actually explore outside of the mansion. We always knew the mansion was a prison, but to actually see how they recruit humans in order to take them over, which we get in this episode, they confirm as such they are humans. I saw a few different people last week actually still question that they weren't humans and they thought they were something else, so I'm glad that this episode clears it up for them, because honestly, the system, as messed up as it is honestly really intelligent for the Shadows family point of view. You literally supply coal that is made from the soot, probably Lord Grandfather's soot, so because they're burning it day in and day out, screw the environment, am I right? They're literally easy to brainwash, so when they come into town, they give you more coal, you give them the pick of the litter, they pick kids to be the faces, and they view it as them, because they're so brainwashed, that they're going to be getting this amazing life at a rich mansion and they'll be spoiled like crazy, when really they're being raised to be took over. Like, that's so messed up, and the way they directed it, seeing them basically act as humans to kind of mingle and kind of blend into everyone, and just see how they're directing it, like, they are so messed up. And the fact that there's multiple villages seemingly similar to this situation, I mean, it's pretty twisted. Like, it's this insane slavery camp that is so well constructed that you question how could humans ever defeat it by themselves. They couldn't. The only chance is like maybe a village that hasn't been like soaked in with all this coal soot bullshit. But if they enter the town, seemingly they would start to be a little more mellow and neutral towards them, so they'd probably have to have gas masks on. So the only way to really defeat Lord Grandfather and company is to have other shadows want to defeat them. And it's interesting how they kind of rallied the troops in this episode after having literally Emilico as well as Sean be freed after two very different ways of doing so. Seeing the reason, not necessarily because, well, we want to defeat Lord Grandfather or we're trying to go against the system, it really boils down to screw Edward, and I think that's a motto and message that a lot of people could probably get behind. It's very interesting that they actually kidnapped Emilico afterwards, because, I mean, it makes total sense if Edward surely was the manipulator behind this, because Edward didn't trust Kate, the fact that she hid her powers during the debut, and the fact that you would, take the doll, make sure that they're loyal to Lord Grandfather. It's something that makes total sense, even if it does rub me the wrong way, and I'm like, you absolute bastard, whoever's behind this, you need to go away and let Kate's hard work actually accomplish something. In some weird ways, I could actually see how a show like this could, in a satisfying way, end in order to defeat Lord Grandfather. But at the same time, I feel like with what they're building up with episode 12 and 13, it's about rescuing Emilico and maybe leaving off on some sort of cliffhanger or new objective or something like that. I know 100% if it ended on an anime original ending, people would be pissed off, but if it was good, I really wouldn't care. That's just how I am. But it does feel like we're building up to, like, the second act, I guess, where we rescue Emilico and then we build up to the next story hook, which is probably defeat Lord Grandfather. And it'd be interesting to see what an anime season for a season 2 would do, or if it's just going to be more of a go read the manga ending, which is what I kind of assume is going to happen. I think out of all the episodes, I think the past few have answered everything I really want to see. And I know for some people they'll say, oh, well, then the mystery's gone, there's nothing really keeping you there, but I feel like the mystery was there for so long. Everyone pretty much assumed they were humans. It was more of a question of why. Last week we get to see what they are, what they're doing. This week actually exploring outside the mansion. So now we have a good understanding and more of like, we have an end goal we want to reach. We want to defeat the Lord Grandfather. We want to defeat his minions. And we want to free the humans. I don't think you necessarily need a giant mystery anymore in order to keep viewers engaged. Viewers naturally and readers would naturally be engaged after seeing just the horror show that we just experienced, right? So that's what I like about Shadow Shows, is that rather than just constantly dropping new and new mysteries, it's more of like, we have you hooked. You most likely are enthralled by the characters. You're most likely enthralled by the world. You naturally have an angle you want to defeat, so you don't really need to keep saying, ooh, I wonder what the shadows are, or ooh, I wonder what a living doll is. Pretty much everyone from the very beginning assumed living dolls were humans. It was the natural thought process. It was more of like, are they a parasite? What are shadows? Were they first to be humans, right? So that's what I like about this, is that it understands how to be a good mystery. But once you solve a big mystery, what do you do afterwards? And a lot of times stories just introduce a new one. And I'm not saying they can have more mysteries or things like that, but at this point we have a good understanding of what the Shadows family is and what they're doing. The biggest question is why they're doing it, and that seemingly is just to be powerful and take over because they can't be humans themselves without basically copying them. So you could argue there still is a big mystery, but I like the direction they're going with it. Most likely, if we ever did get like a confrontation between Lord Grandfather and Kate, I'm sure the question would be brought up, what was your reason to do this? And then you could also argue, well, what's Kate's motivation to go behind their backs and not want to do this? But seemingly, the younger Shadows are kept out of the dark. You probably don't learn these secrets, or you're not supposed to know these secrets until you're at the very top floor. So I like that about this show, is that it constantly keeps you on your toes while explaining and exploring a lot, while still saying there's still so much more that a season 2 or more chapters in the manga would definitely explore. I was actually quite impressed by the visual directing on, I would say, Kate's side the most. You had plenty of points where you actually got across so much emotion, and there's always been emotion on the Shadow side. They always have basically a steam whistle, they emit soot and things like that. But you actually saw Kate crying in the way they detailed basically like a water droplet, but it was ash and soot and things like that. And to see just the buildup of her, it kind of gave me a Harry Potter vibe. If you ever seen one of the movies where basically a character is forcing another character to drink a shit ton of this liquid, and the liquid is pretty much torturing them. It was pretty much a tamer version of that, where, at some point, eventually you would feel like you're about to explode. And honestly, I was surprised when Emilico started throwing up that she wasn't vomiting like ash or something like that. I actually wish they kind of detailed that. It makes sense given the fact that it probably actually isn't insider. It's more of like a mental thing, you drink it, your body processes it, and then it becomes a more mental thing. But I think it would have been a nice visual touch to see maybe among the water she was coughing up, maybe there was a bit dark tinge to it or something like that. But overall, I thought the directing for a scene of literally just watching Kate force Emilico to drink water was really well done. You felt the pain on both sides, but you understood it had to be done in order to take care of it. And then you had the complete opposite with just two bros beating the shit out of each other to snap him out. So it's nice that there's multiple ways to deal with it, either flushing it out of the system or getting through emotionally, which I think is another really cool way to do so. I wouldn't be surprised if Emilico gets brainwashed again and we have to go through the same ordeal, but I guess we'll see where they take us with the last couple episodes. And honestly, I'm hoping for a season 2. The show's been absolutely incredible. The character banter and development has been insane. Plenty of plot twists, even if some are exactly what I predicted. There's been plenty that completely shook me to my core, especially with certain character deaths and how they progress the overall story. But let me know your thoughts and feelings on this week's episode of Shadows House, and where do you hope to see next week's episode go? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share, your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.